signed up, 13 spontaneous, and 3 first week.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things, I'm going to read it off here because I don't want to mess it up. There's a 70-year-old woman, Robin, and here's what Cy wrote me. She was nervous about the temperature of the water. How will I get into the ice bath and not fall? You got to be tracking on the broken hip, right, man?
Sure.
Um, and so he said after they talked through it, Cy said, if you need to wait until we can do it at the ocean or pool, would that be better? And she responded, you can only run from God for so long. Now is the time. Hey there, welcome to the Intentional Churches podcast. Great to be with you guys again, and this kind of fun new segment that's just me and Bart looking forward to our conversation today. And just to remind everyone that what Intentional Church is about, we're really about helping you as a church leader help every person in your church own the Great Commission personally. And this podcast is trying to highlight pragmatically ways that churches are doing that across the Intentional Churches movement of churches. And so, Bart, what is up? How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. It's my favorite time of year in Vegas. What about you?
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It's like perfect.
It's perfect weather. You got a little sweatshirt or jacket on in the morning, and then
Yeah.
like at nighttime, I got shorts on right now. Yeah, that's great, man.
Begin to layer a little bit, right? Layering
Yeah,
starts.
it's good, man. Well, last time we were together, and I don't know if you heard anything back. We had kind of an epic conversation around the spanking machine. Did you get any critique or
Yeah.
blowback?
Yeah, I still am not real sure I was happy we did that, but at the end of the day, it's out there. Yes, I heard some comments.
I was in with a group in Florida this week. They've all adopted it. Or
No.
last week, there were 5 church teams. They've all adopted
It's a part
your
of our legacy now, Doug. This is
framing. No, I think it's your legacy. I don't think it's mine. I just perpetuate the very funny things you come up with, man. And I try to give you credit. Hey, one of the things that you're kind of well known for, and I don't know if our listeners know this, but you are a giver of the nickname. Are you not?
well, yeah, I was trying to think a little bit about. I don't even think of myself that way, but yes, apparently that's that's what I do. It must come. It's like a second nature kind of gift or something.
Where did that come from, man? Was that something your
Well,
family did, or you been on a
yeah,
team?
that's right. So yeah, I come from a family we didn't, take ourselves too seriously. So yeah, nicknames are pretty common. I was thinking about. I think my father was the one who would nickname people, and it just sort of started to stick. Um, like I had friends growing up. I had a kid named Robbie that was my friend, like in high school and stuff. But my dad called him Rocky, like to his face. We call him Rocky, and we would try to be like, Dad, he doesn't know his nickname's Rocky. Like,
Why did he call him
I
Rocky?
don't have any idea. He wasn't like a boxer or anything like that. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, it comes downhill from my family's kind of nicknaming tendencies or something like that. So I think it's kind of fun, right? It's endearing. Um, when you get it. Have you ever noticed Tiger Woods? So Tiger was kind of an outcast early on in golf, but then he had to get accepted because he was so good. But then one of his ways to break down those walls, if you've ever noticed this, he has nicknames for everybody in the PGA Tour that he's like buddies with. So
No.
it's sort of like a way to sort of break down the walls and just be a little more than acquaintances. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
it could be
man.
anything, brother. There's no like
It's
format.
it's very strategic. I'm
Yeah,
hearing
what I think he intuitively was doing it, but at the end of the day, I think maybe that's what I'm doing too. But yeah, I don't know. Last names can be nicknames, but it's way more fun to call you Dougie Fresh than it is
No, it's not.
Doug.
No, it's not. There were 2 Dougs in my high school. I was Doug. He was Dougie. Let me be very clear.
All right.
Well, I just for a minute I want to honor for our listeners who don't know Wally Rendell and your dad, man. He is just a beloved man in church leadership, and very endearing to people, and that makes sense that would come from him, right? Is like kind of one of his strategies.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know, but yeah, our family just liked. Yeah, it was a part of the nature of our conversation. So for sure.
Okay, I'm going to take you back to Florida,
Yeah,
Ocala, Florida.
yeah,
And this is in the early days of IC. And we met, we were at church at the Springs, and we met Ron Sylvia and Hal Mayer at a
yeah.
like egg shop, breakfast place. And do you remember the kind of the nickname first thing you said to Hal? Now, Hal is a very big human being. He's what, 6'6"?
Yeah.
Looks like he played football.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you're
yeah.
what? How
Kind of
tall are you, Bart? How tall are you?
a 5'6" on a good day.
Okay.
If I've slept well and stuff.
So,
Yeah.
do you remember what you said to Hal?
Yeah, oh yeah, I remember what I said to Hal because I remember thinking I was going to get killed because he's a large man, and I sat down there at the table, and I hadn't even met him yet, didn't know his name. I was like, "Well, you're a very large drink of water there, young man." And I don't
I
know
know.
why
And
that came out of my mouth.
Hal's look on his face, it was like he was the most stoic. I was like, he is going to pound Bart into the ground, man.
But we broke the ice and became close soon
Exactly.
thereafter, right? We had a great conversation after that, but I don't even know what that means or where it came from. It just kind of leaked out. Boy, you're a large drink of water. It comes some saying somewhere, I guess.
Well, before we leave this topic, you have any all-time favorites or historics that really got traction? Nicknames that you gave, maybe at Central or inside of IC or
Gosh,
an
I don't know. Some of them you
install?
can't. No, I know. I think my favorite are so our whole family is basically nicknamed, right? So my favorite ones, like my daughter's Lila June. Well, she's Junebug, right? And Luke is, I don't know why I call him Duke. I won't, it's like, it's more fun to call him Duke than Luke. Imagine if your name was Duke. That's awesome. And then Catherine, my wife, is Kat. I don't know if those are epic nicknames, but at the end of the day, yeah, it's just more endearing, I suppose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It's good. It's good. All right, man. Let's talk about a church story. I think last time we talked about First Christian Newburgh, and yeah, you want to like, why don't I share this time, man?
Yeah, you've been traveling a lot, and I think you've run across some stuff that people need to know about, man. Some amazing things happening in our churches, and we just love to highlight it. So yeah, you've been on the road a bunch, by the way, brother.
I know, man.
And so yeah,
One of,
share what you're finding out there.
one of the longest runs, and man, the stories out there. We'll talk about that in a minute, but one of the 9 week straight run. Yeah, I was just down in Southwest Florida, my first time there, by the way, and we were doing an Unleash workshop event, and I talked to one of our IC coaches, Intentional Churches coaches, Cy Huffer, who him and his wife Monica, man, just kind of like your mom and dad did, parachute church plant. Went through a really 40 days of prayer and fasting, felt a call to go plant a church there in Missouri, and he ended up, a friend calling them and saying, "Hey, you should come to Florida," and so they parachuted in, man. They knew no one.
Yeah,
And in September of 24, man, they did launch their first thing. They had gathered already 50 as their core team, which is amazing to me in modern society. I think as I talk to Cy, I think it underscores what we're trying to do at IC. If you just get a group of people at a relational level connected and owning the Great Commission personally, it's the most effective strategy. There is no other like silver bullet that builds that kind of momentum. So anyway, they partnered, with Florida church planters, a couple churches down there, and they've been doing during their first year beach baptisms, which is awesome. But at the same time, it's also like inconvenient and it's not tied into the worship service. So they decided to do a baptism at their year anniversary service just this fall. And they're portable, they're in a school. So I don't know if you've
yeah.
ever, Have you ever seen the nutty ways church planners get baptistries built?
Yeah, oh yeah. They got to be creative, man. So that's
So,
just yeah. Tell me, like, what they do? They didn't use the ocean.
no, they bought an inflatable ice bath, had to put it on a dolly and do like construction around it. It's like this rigged up thing. I wish on the podcast I could show a picture of it. It's like you can't make this stuff up. Back in the early days of my church plant days, we used a horse trough out here in Vegas.
Yeah,
It,
yeah. I've seen that before. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, man. So yeah, so they did a 4 week series on the one on Luke 15, and then did a call to baptism. They had 18 who had signed up to be baptized. Now they're running about 110 a week. So they're already at like almost 20% of their attendance signed up to be baptized. And then they had 13 spontaneous baptisms because of the gospel presentation, 3 of which it was their very first time at church. And so 31 baptisms, 110 in attendance.
So you're saying that they had the one signed up, but then the were spontaneous on top,
Yeah,
like God moving. Yeah, it's amazing what's happening. That's great.
18 signed up, 13 spontaneous, and 3 first week.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things, I'm going to read it off here because I don't want to mess it up. There's a 70-year-old woman, Robin, and here's what Cy wrote me. She was nervous about the temperature of the water. How will I get into the ice bath and not fall? You got to be tracking on the broken hip, right, man?
Sure.
And so he said after they talked through it, Cy said, if you need to wait until we can do it at the ocean or pool, would that be better? And she responded, you can only run from God for so long. Now is the time, man.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That's like
So,
when I was at Central, I tell the story in the book about our baptism day, and just it's a move of God, when people are like, today's the day. Ankle bracelet, the dude getting baptized in his Harley, like he like jacket, like he's like he wanted all of his identity to basically be joined with Christ. It's like when God
his
moved, you
biker
just
jacket
got. Oh yeah, he like
and
left that
chap.
on. We're like, yeah, chaps. Like I'm like,
Oh, gosh.
this is nuts. I don't know what's happening, but I guess we're kind of seeing that again, which is fantastic. It's got to be
Yeah.
such a blessing and confirmation of Cy and the team to like know that they're following God, that He's already gone before. Think about that in the hearts and of these lives who would show up on that day and make this decision. And that's what He's doing at all of our churches, right? He's just
Yeah.
working in advance as we try to courageously follow and align to the mission. So it's just great.
Yeah, man. And you've been the one saying this for years, and I just want to remind our listeners, our job as the 99 is to plant and water.
Yeah.
And I just think that is so wise when you started saying like we trust God from the outcome. It's not our job to close the deal. And I think that was some of the residual of a great strategy from years ago, evangelism explosion. I think that was some of the unintended byproduct, as it felt like you were transacting a deal, as opposed to this idea of empowering our people to plant and water and just do where the Spirit's leading, right?
Yeah, it's dynamic. You said the word dynamic. I think that's the right. We don't really know the role we have or will play in leading someone to Christ over time, right? And then how God's moving in those folks' lives. And think about just those side stories, like what was happening in those people's lives in advance of that day is, I hope in heaven we get to see sort of like how it all works. But yeah, we just can't, we got to take it, I say, take it super seriously, but hold it loosely because we're a steward of the King. So if this is the King's work and He's invited us into it, well, then how serious would you be about it? But then the King can do what the King wants to do, right? He can move in ways that we have to respond to, and then in ways we can't see. And so, yeah, So that's what Sai's doing, man. Courageously following and watching God move. I think it's amazing. Great story.
I do pray someday we get to see, especially as Westerners, the incredible web. The more and more people who are personally owning the Great Commission in all of our churches, can you imagine the overlapping relational web of prayer, investment, service, and generosity to ones that really happens behind the scenes? It's got
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
mind-boggling.
Like I'll give you a good story. So I'm working a lot on the One Life project, which will roll out in January, and it will be a set of tools to, I believe the best way to say it is change the culture of the church to embed personally one awareness or alignment to the Great Commission inside the church permanently. That's the idea, the vision, is that we would train people to pray for, identify, and pursue genuine relationships with lost people in their lives. And that sounds so simple, but we just know that a lot of that just doesn't happen, and we've got to be proactive about it, right? The One Life series, teaching, training, we're building right now. So we're just in testing mode. It'll launch in a couple months officially, and already like there's a church of 1,000 in Tennessee on average weekend attendance, where 597 people about 2 or 3 weeks ago made a commitment through a teaching series, inspiration and application, stuff that we've built, to identify and pray for their one in their life. So it's just what you're talking
Wow.
about. Like
Yeah.
when the blessing that's going to occur not only in the church, but in those people's lives and then in their friends' lives, for sure. And what we're trying to do is to make it stick over the long haul so that that becomes, like I said, a part of the culture. How's it going with your one becomes a normative thought, right?
Hmm.
And so just think about that. 60% of that church's average worship attendance has now made that commitment and what that's going to mean in the long run. Now they have to keep that alive and sustained over time. It wasn't meant to be a one-time initiative.
Right.
But I'm just saying what you're talking about, if you could see the ripple effect of those commitments over the next months and years, man, I hope we get to see
Yeah.
that, get a feel for it. Because it's just profound. It's eternally, it's a game changer eternally. So
Yeah, it is, man. Well, I want to change subjects here, and we're in this season right now of a new book coming out for us, Radical Alignment, The Surprising Journey to Becoming an Intentional Church. And most of our listeners would not know this, but you are the main architect of our publishing and our writing. And I want you to talk for a minute. I know you love writing. You've always wanted to write a lot of books, and that it's just the joyous process for you.
I was going to go with the flow. I was be like, I'm not going to deny Doug if he's really going to act like this is true. Then I was just ready just to go with it. Yeah. No, none of that's true.
So, for our listeners, let's take them inside what this is like for you to get a book out. Like, what is the process like? What does it do to you?
Yeah, well, good golly. For one, I'm wired to really focus to get stuff done. So I literally, and we wrote both these books. I would go to the Green Valley Library and just hunker down. You know what I mean? And dedicate huge blocks of time to outline and organize our thoughts. Interview a lot from you. Interview from our coaches. Interview from our churches, which we're a learning community. I'm not going to go do that alone. And then just basically what I think I can do is synthesize the learnings into some sort of sensible, presentation. And that's really what I'm doing. And more than writing original stuff is finding the themes and the threads and trying to organize it. And that really takes a lot of focus. So yeah, man, I'm like, I tell Kat, I'm going to be, it's going into writing mode. I'm like, I'm all in mentally day and night. The first one was, oh gosh, it was 3 months. This one was a month or a couple months. So yeah, that's what it is. And usually I can just tell when God's kind of bringing the ideas together, and the stuff that's on the page in that radical alignment book, I am just super excited about, because I think it's really the the why side of IC and not the how. Uh, it's really the heart of what we captured as after all these years of learning, and we put into what is more like a prequel to the thing we've done for these years. Like if you went back to the beginning and you knew what you know now, this is what we would have put in the book. So yeah, I'm super excited to get it out there, because I think it's going to be very helpful on the Y side.
Let's let dive a little deeper on that, man. What do you mean? The red book, the Intentional Church's original book, you said is more the how, and this radical alignment book is more the why.
Yeah,
Like,
so I think the how of IC is we build toolboxes and we train church leaders to use them, which creates collaboration and learning among a growing group of churches, which then improves the toolbox again and again over time. So that's our how. So that toolbox has got a lot of approach and method to it that we put into that red book. And I kind of thought when we wrote the red book that the why would pop off the page. And I think it did for a lot of people. But I don't think even we really understood as we went along how personal the work we were doing needed to be in our lives, and in the lives of the leaders that were using the toolbox. And then really the mega theme of the mission as the Great Commission, but as a personal mission being driven into our heart and our mind. I thought that was between the lines of the Red Book, but now it's becoming very clear from our churches that are with us and using the tools that that is the big idea. That the Great Commission wasn't an organizational mission; it was a personal mission given to Jesus' followers, including you and me. And that idea needed to be processed. I believe what we're finding, maybe during or in advance of then using our toolbox to to apply that truth to your church over time. So is that helpful as I get it?
oh yeah, that's super helpful, man, and very clarifying. And so you said it. Intentional churches. I've been using this word. Listen, if you're new to us, just consider us a ginormous practical ministry learning community, like all tied to how do we get personal ownership of the Great Commission. And so, yeah, in that, even the process of writing the book, walk our listeners through how you built the process and you included the community. I think it's just really creative approach, from the conference copy to the book
Oh,
challenge to the interviewing now, like walk through that process. And then I want to dive into that for a minute.
yeah, just for 1 second. So for the first was we've worked with about 1,000 churches in everything from 1 day training events to full blown multi-year, in person with a church training engagements. So we just started to take a lot of notes and watch the themes emerge about what are the barriers to Great Commission alignment, and what are the encouraging things we're seeing that would foster and fuel Great Commission alignment. So we just listen, interview, and get this thing down in some sort of rough form, um, and unpacking the biblical theme of alignment to the Great Commission throughout the New Testament, which is profound to me. And we put it in the hands. We decided, first of all, there was a subgroup of our churches that were working behind the scenes to then get the rough draft, or the minimum viable draft of the book in form to go to the conference last April. And at the conference, we gave it a preliminary copy with the ability to feedback your learning and use of the book, but then also to jump into a collaborative 2 week study. And we had over 250 people from the conference jump into the 2 week, we called it a book challenge, which was a study. And from there, we really learned how to make it impactful to a team. So for instance, the original form of the book didn't have study questions in it. We used study questions in the book study group, but we didn't have them in the book yet. So now we're learning the right questions. So it's now loaded with questions for personal and team study as a part of it because of that team, that book study group of a couple hundred teaching us how they would use it. And now what's happening, Doug, is we just are, I mean, we could talk about the availability of the book, stuff like that, but it's like just watching teams that are down the road on aligning using our toolbox or thinking about engaging and watching what this conversation is doing in their teams to pave, either create the foundation and alignment for alignment going forward, or unpacking the why. In some cases, people will see our stuff ironically as a silver bullet solution or a program when it's meant to be way more fundamental and basic than that. And so it sort of gets rejected as the latest program. Well, this book explains the why, and it's hard to deny, I believe, because there's so much scripture we unpack in there. And it then creates the seedbed for the application of the toolbox. So I just pray every team, no matter you worked with us before or in advance, will think about grabbing this thing. I think it's going to be really powerful.
And to emphasize to our listeners, it is meant to be a team study. Like, you all read this book and do it together. You do it with your board. It is meant to be a full-on team study, and it will provoke, we're learning already, pretty incredible conversations. Because, and I said this recently in one of our trainings, it's weird, man. The longer we do this stuff, like, people have, well, why does IC have such traction? Or, well, the secret sauce is really kind of duh. All we've done is bring teams back to these base fundamental scriptural things and said, let's look at these with new eyes and new ears. And are we really building a church that's honoring this?
Yeah.
And so if you were wondering, what is the secret sauce of IC? It really is the scriptural biblical foundation through a lens that is fresh and new about how you should lead and build a church.
So let me just camp real fast. I'm super excited for the first time. We've had these for a long time, but kind of our foundational beliefs, which kind of what you're talking about, are we call them the 25 foundational beliefs. They become the bedrock of IC's teaching toolbox and approach, right, to Great Commission alignment. They're in the back of this thing. So just being able to read those in like little paragraphs, not lengthy, just little understandings. Once you wrap your head and heart around those, applying the principles becomes, just way easier and more, I don't know what to say, awareness and conviction grows through the roof, and you just really want to do it, I think.
Yeah, and this is the first time we've mass published those. They've been on the YouTube channel with some teaching and at various places, but in mass production like this, and I would encourage, again, our listeners, this is an actionable piece of this book that could be studied in conjunction with your board, with your staff and team, with core leaders, to really promote and get a good conversation going that, leads to more and more alignment in your church. So I think before we leave, I have a couple more questions. Leave the radical alignment conversation. Number one, you did a lot of, went out and got stories from churches again, fresh and new stories. We did that in the original book as well. Was there one of the stories of one of the churches that are in there that really stuck out to you and is like encouraging and like really making you go, oh, this is all this grinding, all these miles we put in airplanes.
One of my favorite stories is connection? What is Vought?
Connection Point.
Yeah, and that story's in there because this is a church that's ministering and prevailing in a part of the country that just desperately needs the gospel. Down there, kind of in the Memphis, Boot Heel of Missouri, kind of that region. Is it Jackson? Is that the town, Jackson? I can't remember.
I don't remember, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
big.
the story's in there. But it's like Chris and the team are they're just killing it, but yet we have the privilege of kind of being in the mix with them and watching them innovate, but not lose the foundation and fundamentals that the toolbox teaches you to use. And they've grown from a few hundred to, I mean, a couple thousand. They're just blowing the doors off in terms of reach. And it's mostly evangelistic growth. And they have just cracked the code on identifying who their one is, mobilizing their people to reach their one, but then also being a church that is right smack up against all of the issues that their ones face in that region, in that part of the country. And not only equipping their people to reach their one, but equipping their people to minister to the one in their point of need. And, often people can't make, a life-changing, salvation decision because of hurts and hangups in their lives and stuff that's going on. They're just too overwhelmed and creates too much of a barrier. So this church is like right on that front line. And such an encouraging story and inspiration. And I'd love people to get the book just to read that story. And if you're in the region, go visit them. I mean, it's an amazing thing going on. That's just one example.
That's good. That's good. And then last question around radical alignment, the surprising journey of becoming an intentional church. That is a mouthful, by the way. Yeah. I find every time I say it, I'm like, I need to include that byline. Do you have a hope for the people, the teams that are going to read and study this why book, this prequel to it all? Do you have a hope for them?
Yes, I genuinely hope they catch a vision like I did as I was studying for it, that the Great Commission is the point, that it literally is between the lines of the whole New Testament, from the call of the apostles in the early stages and the vision being cast to them that they were going to be fishers of men, all the way through the book of Philippians. We unpack a little bit, which I think is got the Great Commission woven all into it. So I just hope they'll see that and their life will be changed because of it, that they'll see it as personally as those early followers did. And then as a leader, they'll want others to find that same vision and conviction. And then my last thing would be that leads them to jump in to our collaborative thing that's happening, because we need as many as possible in. Everyone that jumps in is an encouragement, gets encouraged and provides encouragement to others in this regard. So yeah, man, it's pretty profound. I think it has been in your life too, as you've
Oh,
thought
it
about
has, man. It's you mentioned the reading. I've never read the New Testament through the lens of the Great Commission. I don't know why. No one ever taught me that. But once I've done that, I can't unsee it. It's like, you talked about the calling of the first disciples. Immediately, it wasn't even just a vision cast of, I will make you fishers of men. It was immediate participation in evangelism. There was no, and I've been using this phrase a lot lately, there was participation before preparation. Before they were ever taught to give or serve or even be in community, they're immediately in evangelistic situations with Jesus. And that is how he's teaching the Great Commission. And I think as church leaders, that should really convict you, because sometimes it can get confusing in church leadership when you have so many things you're trying to move forward that you forget that this is the football. Relational evangelism is the football. It is the great equalizer. It is the great breaker of Christian consumerism. It is the great breaker of silos in your staff. It is the most profound strategy Jesus gives us on this earth to transform the heart of man is relational evangelism, man. And I led a church for a long time and I got cluttered on that.
Yeah. Well, people need to know it's kind of wrecked us as at IC. And I say that a little bit about this in the book, but it's like, this is what it's all about. We can't be teaching church leaders if we're not living this.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's definitely wrecked my life in a good way. Like just to just start thinking about every day, every decision through a different lens, which I think that's what the early followers were doing. So,
Yeah, man. Well, for us, this was a long run, a very serious conversation. Like we did a good job there, man. We were very serious for a long time. But one of the segments we're trying to highlight is kind of from the road, man. So we just had a very unique travel experience in Nashville. Was it in September? I lost track. I don't know what month it was in.
yeah, I don't even know. It was scarred us, I think.
Yes, it did. So tell our
We want to
listeners what
forget.
happened to us.
Yeah. So, yeah, do you want me to tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So maybe you can chime in. I'm not exactly sure. So we're traveling together. We don't get to travel together a lot. We land in Nashville. We go to get a rental car. Luckily, we've got some extra time, um, and we don't have to be anywhere per se immediately. We get to the rental car garage, and it's gridlocked, and like cars aren't moving. There's hundreds of cars, and what come to find out had happened that at B&A, some engineer had decided it was a really grand idea to kind of funnel everybody toward one exit in Nashville. So if you've been there, I think it's Donaldson Pike. Anyway,
Yeah, it
it's like
is.
that exit, there had been a fatality at that exit, and it locked everything down so that just imagine the airport backing up and backing up and backing up. Planes are landing and people are piling into the airport, and then eventually
Ubers
it
can't
backs
get in.
it backs
Pe-
all the way out to I-40.
People can't pick up their family. Nobody can get in or out.
It was I just don't I just can't imagine what if somebody that had to be somewhere. Thank goodness you and I were like
Yeah, we
we were
went
still
back
going
into the
crazy, but
Hilton
did
and
you there
had
were people dragging they abandoned their rental cars on I-40 and were walking with their
walking it
suitcase.
on the ramp. And then when we finally got out, I mean, this is 6 hours. Were we there 6 hours? It was
Yeah, I think it
gridlocked.
was
We
6
finally
hours.
got in line and waited. And we get out of the rental car garage, dude. It was like a third world country. There were pedestrians everywhere, carting suitcases, trying to meet their Ubers out of Donaldson.
There were people walking down Donaldson Pike for miles with suitcases. Like I don't know what they thought they were going to
I know.
where they
I'm
were.
like, if you don't travel, I'm telling you, it is entertainment unto itself to travel at times. Frustrating, debilitating, but man, you just can't make up stuff like this. And it was barely highlighted in the news. I don't think it made the national news. It was like Armageddon. It hit the airport.
Yeah, it was like our little pocket of war that was going on right there. Which right now, dude, it's not exactly. It's I'm I'm
Yeah.
I'm afraid for travels at this very moment just because of everything that's going on. But
I've only
anyway,
got a
man,
couple more flights the rest of this year, man. And with the shutdown, I'm hearing stories. Like we just did training here, and we had a couple people be delayed like 12 hours.
yeah, sleeping in the airport and stuff.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Take a
Terrible.
pillow.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to wrap up for today. Thank you for tuning in. And yeah, if you want to check out Cy Huffer, the church planner we talked about in Monica, their church, it is the Gathering Church in Naples, Florida. And even if you would be willing to consider even a contribution, they're still raising funds. You have the ability to do that on their website. They're just a great new church, and we believe at IC in church planning and the power that it is. And then the Radical Alignment book is available on the IC, the Intentional Church's website, so you can get a copy there, or maybe for your team. It's also going to be available on multiple other outlets, but we're trying to funnel more and more of our resource distribution to our website, and so check it out there. As always, Bart, awesome to sit with you and converse,
Yeah.
and I hope it's a blessing to our listeners to hear kind of behind the scenes of some of our adventures on this grand journey we've been on, man.
Yeah. I just can't grab that book, man. I want to hear what people think, but not just what they think. Just I want them to, to, like you said, get a hold of this big idea. If they've kind of lost it or they need to think about it, it's going to bless anybody, even that I think that's in leadership. So look forward to hearing about that.
It's great. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.